The year was 1562, and the peak Renaissance time in Florence, Italy. The bustling town was the place where art, culture, and knowledge converged. In a few miles, on one of the picturesque Tuscan hills, stood quiet San Lazzaro, so untouched by that enlightenment in the midst of such vibrant and happening Florence. Tradition here prevailed, with women being locked away in the dark shadows of their fathers and husbands, while societal expectations gagged their voices. Elena Moretti was not like the other girls in the village. She had a spark in her eyes, a hunger for knowledge, and a determination that often left her family bewildered. While other girls dreamed of marriage and homemaking, Elena dreamed of books, of learning, and of a world beyond the village boundaries. Her father, Giovanni Moretti, was a blacksmith, and her mother, Maria, was a strong Catholic who believed in obedience and humility. This led to frequent arguments between Elena and her mother over the former's inclination to rebel. "Elena, you're wasting your time with those old parchments," Maria would scold, watching her daughter pore over a crumbling family Bible. A woman's place is in the home, serving her family, not chasing dreams that lead nowhere. But Elena could not be dissuaded. She felt a calling deep within her, a sense that she was meant for something greater. One evening, when the sun had set, Elena went to the dusty attic of their modest stone house. She was looking for an old blanket to mend, but her curiosity got the better of her when she came across a wooden chest with intricate patterns etched into its surface. The chest belonged to her grandfather, Lorenzo Moretti, who was a scholar before his untimely death. With shaking hands, Elena opened the chest. She found an assortment of yellowed papers, ink-stained quills, and a leather-bound book that seemed to radiate mystery. An aged slab of stone lay at the bottom of the chest. Latin text had been engraved into its surface, shimmering faintly in the dim light filtering through the attic's cracks. Elena's heart raced as she deciphered the text, her limited knowledge of Latin piecing together the message, "Vires tuae intra te sunt, solum eas expurgiscere debes." The power within you must awaken. Beneath the inscription was a short prayer. As Elena read the words aloud, a strange warmth spread through her chest, filling her with a sense of clarity and resolve she had never felt before. For Elena, the days following were an emotional roller coaster. She hid the prayer and the stone tablet, afraid of her mother's wrath and of her village's mockery. Still, the effects of the prayer upon her could not be ignored. It was as if she now had the slumbering strength within herself awakened. Elena began to look at her village with different eyes. She started seeing all the injustices. Girls not allowed to go to school, widows without any kind of livelihood, and wives bearing in silence all their husbands could dish out. She made up her mind to do something, but she didn't know what. She first confided in her closest friend, Sophia Ricci, a sweet girl who was quiet. Sophia was a seamstress. She spent her days embroidering fine linens for the wealthy families of Florence. Despite her humble job, Sophia had a sharp mind and a love for storytelling. "Elena, you are playing with fire," Sophia whispered one afternoon as they sat by the village well, out of sight of any prying eyes. "If the elders hear you speaking of change, they will say you are rebellious, or worse, heretical." "I can't keep quiet, Sophia," Elena said firmly. "I have seen what life is like for women in Florence. They have schools, libraries, and opportunities. Why should we be any different? Why should we remain in darkness while the world moves forward?" Sophia looked at her and nodded slowly. "If anyone can bring change, it's you. But you'll need more than just words. You'll need allies." Elena's first act of defiance was small, but significant. She started teaching a group of young girls to read and write, using the family Bible as her text. They met in secret, gathering in an abandoned barn on the outskirts of the village. The girls were eager to learn. their laughter and curiosity filling the cold, empty space with life. She saw Isabella, who was 10 years old, with her abusive uncle and took the young girl under her wing, considering that Isabella was just as quick-witted as she was determined. As weeks became months, Elena's lessons grew. She taught the girls about history, mathematics, and the wonders of the natural world. Word of her secret school began to spread, attracting the attention of a few mothers who were brave enough to defy tradition and support Elena's cause. But not everyone was pleased. One cold winter morning, Elena was exiting the barn when confronted by Father Pietro, the village priest. Elena shivered from his stern look. "I have heard disturbing rumors, Elena," he said, his voice heavy with disapproval. "They say you are teaching girls to read. Do you not understand the danger of such actions? Knowledge is a burden women are not meant to bear. It leads only to sin and rebellion." She held her father's eyes. "Father Pietro, does not the Bible say that we are all born in God's likeness? Then why would women be deprived of these gifts, knowledge and wisdom?" The priest's face darkened. "You tread a dangerous path, child. Repent before it is too late." Despite Father Pietro's warnings, Elena continued her mission. She began to dream bigger, envisioning a day when San Lazzaro would have its own school for girls. But with her growing influence came greater risks. The village elders viewed her as a threat, and whispers of heresy began to circulate. One evening, sitting by the fire with Sophia, Elena unfolded a map of Italy she had borrowed from her grandfather's chest. "Look at Florence," Elena said, tracing with her finger the outline of the city. "If we can get someone important there on our side, we could change everything." Sophia frowned. "And how do you suggest we do that? Florence is a world away from here." Elena smiled, her eyes alight with determination. "The same way we've done everything else, step by step." As the chapter ends, Elena prepares for her journey to Florence, armed with nothing but her wits, her grandfather's prayer, and an unshakable belief in her cause. The road ahead is fraught with danger, but she knows that the power within her is greater than any obstacle she might face. The journey to Florence was long and arduous. Elena had never ventured beyond San Lazzaro, and the sprawling hills and winding paths felt both thrilling and daunting. She traveled on foot, her only possessions a satchel containing her grandfather's stone tablet, the prayer etched in her heart, and a single loaf of bread gifted by Sophia. When she reached the outskirts of Florence, the city's grandeur left her breathless. Towering cathedrals stood ahead, and markets were bustling. The Arno River glittered beneath the sun, which was a sight she had never seen before. But there was no time to marvel. She had a mission to fulfill. Elena's first days in Florence were filled with uncertainty. She had no connections, no place to stay, and little idea of how to proceed. Yet, her resolve never wavered. She spent her days wandering the city, observing its rhythms, and seeking an opportunity to make her voice heard. She happened to pass by a crowded square one afternoon, and was attracted by a man who stood on a makeshift platform, addressing a crowd of onlookers. He spoke with such passion that the words seemed to reverberate from his very being. "Knowledge is not a privilege of the few," he declared, throwing out his arms. "It is the right of every soul, regardless of birth or status. Only through education can we break the chains of ignorance that bind us." Lorenzo de Rossi was the man, a rich merchant and patron of the arts. He funded schools and libraries throughout Florence, earning him both praise and contempt. Elena felt a glimmer of hope. If anyone could help her, it was him. As the crowd dissipated, she approached Lorenzo, her heart pounding. "Signore Rossi," she began, her voice trembling. "I am Elena Moretti from San Lazzaro. I have come to seek your help in building a school for girls in my village." Lorenzo studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. A school for girls? He repeated. That is a bold ambition. Do you understand the resistance you will face? I do, Elena replied, her voice steady. But I also know that change begins with a single step. I cannot stay quiet when my sisters are kept away from books and from the right to be taught. Lorenzo smiled faintly. You remind me of someone I once knew. Come, let's talk. Over the coming weeks, Lorenzo became Elena's mentor and friend. He presented her to scholars, artists, and reformers with whom she had a vision in common. Guided by them, Elena started outlining plans for the school, developing its curriculum and seeking funds. But their efforts were not without opposition. News of Elena's mission reached influential figures in Florence, who saw education for women as a threat to tradition. They accused her of arrogance, of attempting to overturn the natural order. One evening, as Elena sat in Lorenzo's study, poring over documents, a messenger arrived with a letter. The council has summoned you, Lorenzo said, handing her the parchment. They wish to question your intentions. Elena's hands trembled as she read the letter. The council of elders in Florence held immense power, and their judgment could make or break her cause. I must face them, she said, her voice resolute. I cannot let fear silence me. The council meeting was held in a grand chamber adorned with frescoes depicting scenes from Florence's history. Elena stood before a panel of stern-faced men, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Signorina Moretti, began the head councilman, his voice icy. We have heard of your ambitions. A school for girls is a radical idea, one that challenges centuries of tradition. What gives you the right to propose such a change? Elena took a deep breath, her hands clutching her grandfather's prayer stone hidden in her pocket. I do not claim the right, she said, her voice clear and unwavering. But I do claim the responsibility to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, to bring light to places shrouded in darkness. She spoke of the girls in San Lazzaro, of their dreams and potential, and of the power of knowledge to transform lives. Her words were met with murmurs, some skeptical, others intrigued. She had just finished speaking when the councilman leaned forward. You speak with passion, but passion alone cannot build a school. What do you offer as proof of your capability? In response, Elena produced a parchment detailing her plans, along with letters of support from Lorenzo and other scholars. I give you not just my words but my work, she said, and I ask you for your trust, not for me, but for the future of our daughters. The council deliberated for what felt like an eternity. Finally, the head councilman spoke. Your proposal is unconventional, Signorina Moretti, but it is also compelling. We will grant you the land and initial funding to establish your school. The rest is up to you. Elena's joy was immeasurable. She returned to San Lazzaro with the council's approval and began rallying the villagers. Though many were hesitant, her determination was infectious. The house named Casa della Conoscenza, House of Knowledge, was erected, starting from spring 1563. Elena worked day and night, teaching during the day and assisting with construction at night. Her students and their families joined in, their laughter and hope transforming the quiet little village once again. But the road was not without obstacles. A fire broke out during construction, destroying weeks of work. Supplies ran low, and some villagers withdrew their support under pressure from the church. Through it all, Elena held fast to the prayer that had guided her from the start. The power within you must awaken. On a sharp autumn morning, Casa della Conoscenza finally opened its doors. 20 girls sat before Elena, with faces that radiated curiosity and excitement. The room was small, but full of anticipation. This is your place, she said, her heart bursting with pride. A place where you can dream, learn, and grow. The world may try to silence you, but remember this. The power within you is greater than any force outside. Years went by, but the school still thrived. Elena's work inspired similar efforts throughout Italy, a movement to change history, though it braved many challenges and difficulties. Her legacy endured, a testament to the power of one voice. As the old woman breathed her last, the village erupted in a life celebration. Elena was remembered as a person, at the entrance of the school, through a plaque which bore the inscription that had helped her journey so far. The power within you must awaken.